Hello everybody, welcome to our e-learning sessions for Prep 2. Our session for today is about the novel. We will start the two chapters 14 and 15. Now, the name of our two chapters is I say goodbye to my childhood and I choose a profession. A profession means a job. Now, in slide number 3, we will see some summarization about the chapter. Let's read together. Now David has finished his school and he was no longer the little school boy, also the little girl he saw in his first day at Mr. Wakefield's house had gone, and she was replaced by a pretty young woman, Agnes. Now, for David, Agnes was like a sweet sister. She was his friend, his secret keeper, his advisor. She was an angel in everyone's life. Now, they trusted her and they trusted her advice, which she gave with calmness and good nature. She was a good person. David was very happy at Mr. Strong's school, as you know. However, he was excited about going out into the adult world and being responsible for himself. Now he was so happy for leaving the childhood and being adult, but also he was sad to leave the school of Mr. Strong. Turning to the next slide, slide number 4. On his last day at Mr. Wakefield's house, there's something weird happened. Agnes told David that she was worried about her father, and she asked him whether he noticed any change in her father's attitude. She asked David if he noticed any change in her father. His hands were trembling, and he doesn't speak clearly. His eyes were looking wild. He became nervous, especially when he was wanted in a business with Uriah. He seems so anxious to help David, as if he was glad to see him gone. He was so happy to let David outside He was so happy to let David away from Mr. Wakefield's house. Turning to slide number 5, yes. In chapter 15, David was not able to decide on a career after he left school. He doesn't know which job or profession is good for him. His aunt suggested that he could go to Yarmouth to visit Pigotty. He happily did that, and also he spent a couple of days in London with his old school friend J. Steerforth. While Miss Betsy and David were having dinner together, she asked David if he would like to work in a law office, and she asked him, what about working as a lawyer or in a law office? Did David accept? We will see in slide number 6. David said it would be expensive, and his aunt had already spent a lot of money on his education. He said that you have paid a lot of money, so this is enough. His aunt said, from the time you came to me, a little runaway boy, you have been a credit to me, and a pride and a pleasure. Can you see how much she loved him? I have nothing else important to do with my money, and you are my adopted child. You need only to love me in my old age. This is a very important point. All what she needs to be loved in her old age. And you will have done far more for me than I have ever done for you. My young life was not so happy, as you know. But actually, in slide number 7, he doesn't know. She never talks about her old life before. This was the first time that she talks about her old life. The following morning, they went to the office of Spinlow and Jorkins. David should begin a month trial. Trial means just to see whether he will be good in this job or no, as soon as he pleased, whenever he wants. David's aunt rented him a room at the top of a house with a view over the river. It was a very nice room and he loved it. She went back with her maid Janet to Dover. David was delighted. He was so happy with the place he would begin his new life in. The next slide. Okay, here we have some questions. Let's see together. What did David and Agnes discuss on David's last day at Mr. Wakefield's house? On David's last day at Mr. Wakefield's house, Agnes told David that she was worried about her father and that his attitude is changed. He became very nervous, especially when he was wanted on a business by Uriah. Let's see. Question number 2. Unless I'm imagining it, he is often very nervous. Comment. Who said these words? These words were said by David to Agnes about her father when she asked him about the difference that he noticed in her father's attitude, because he was always nervous. His hands trembles and he doesn't speak clearly. His eyes look wild, especially when he is wanted on business by Uriah. And this was different from his behavior, natural behavior, I mean. In the next slide, what was Aunt Betsy's suggestion to David about his career? Now, Miss Betsy suggested that David could work in a law office. What did Aunt Betsy tell David about herself for the first time, and what did she ask him to give her in return? She told David that her young life was not so happy, and she asked him to love her in her old age, and that will be fair enough for her. The next slide, slide number 10. And so, Mr. Cooper, you are thinking of entering our profession. Profession means job. These words were said by Mr. Spenlow to David when David and his aunt went to his office to find a job for David. And now we have finished our session for today. Hope that you enjoy it and see you soon.